So with new iPhones comes new problems. Apparently this is starting to become a trend with Apple because last year when they launched the iPhone 15 Pro Max, we had problems. We had problems when the 12 Pro Max came out, and now the 16 Pro Max. You know, out of the last 5 iPhone launches, 3 out of those 5 years have been problematic. That's not a very good track record for the world's largest and richest tech company ever. Here's the thing, guys. This iPhone 16 Pro Max, I purchased to be able to use on my main YouTube channel as the camera, okay? Because we had the new wide-angle lenses come out this year. That was the main attraction. I upgrade the phone every year so I can report to you guys here on this channel about some of the problems you might run into in case you do buy a new iPhone. And lo and behold, there are major problems, okay? If you want to use this phone as a camera, good luck, because the issue is, at least for me, this is what I keep seeing happen, and I tested this on several occasions and it kept happening over and over, is you're filming a video, right? Everything's going fine. The phone is not overheating. In fact, this phone is supposed to have the best thermals of any iPhone. I've never felt it get anywhere close to overheating. And then out of the blue, it will just stop. It will just stop recording. You're not aware that it stopped recording. And then, 5-10 minutes later, when you realize the phone stopped recording, you're in trouble, because now you have to try to backtrack and figure out what you shot and what you didn't shoot and try to pick up where you left off. Like, it is a major hassle, okay? And I've bought all of the Pro Max models since they were first launched, since the 12 Pro Max, and I have never had this problem. I had camera problems in the past, and so far, this phone is turning out to be probably the worst iPhone Pro Max model since the 12 Pro Max. And that phone was extremely problematic. You guys can go back in the history on this YouTube channel to see all of the problems I had with that phone. I ended up having to get 3 different devices before I got one that actually worked properly. And I'm afraid I'm going to be right back in the same boat again with this thing. In fact, it's so bad, I'm not even using it as my main phone anymore. I'm still using my iPhone 15 Pro Max that I'm shooting this video on right now. So to make matters worse is after the phone would stop recording, on one occasion the phone actually just completely shut off. I thought maybe I did something, or maybe I held down the power button after the video stopped recording, something like that. Nope, it actually just turned off all by itself. And like I said, it wasn't overheated. This phone has always felt cool to the touch, and I was shooting outside in direct sunlight, still didn't feel hot, but the phone just shut off. So my first thought was like, okay, maybe it's not the phone, right? Maybe it's the new iOS 18, because typically when they do software updates, you're gonna have some issues. You're gonna run into some hiccups. No, because I'm shooting the same videos with my iPhone 15 Pro Max, just like I was before I bought this thing. 0 issues. Never stops recording on its own. The phone doesn't turn off on its own. Nothing. And let's not forget, the iPhone 15 Pro Max was not perfect at launch either. In fact, my launch model had severe overheating issues to the point where it would turn off because it would just get too hot. And that, funny enough, that was something that's supposed to be fixed with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and it actually ended up being worse than the 14 Pro Max, and I ended up having to get a new device ultimately because of that as well. And here's the other problem, guys. When I bought this phone, when I picked up the iPhone 16 Pro Max on launch day, I really wasn't crazy about this new desert titanium color, and I really hate all of the new colors with the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but I usually buy the new color because it's usually like the coolest looking one. This year I wasn't so sure, and I asked the person that I picked up the phone from at the Apple store, like, hey, can I exchange this in like a week or so if I'm unhappy with the color? They said, yeah, no problem. Come on in. We'll exchange it for you. No issues. You have 14 days to return, exchange, whatever. Okay. So I went in less than a week later to do the exchange, and I actually went in to exchange the phone for a different reason, which I'll tell you about in just a minute, that relates to all these problems that the phone is having. But they lied to me at the Apple store, because when I actually got there to exchange the phone, they said, well, which one do you want? I said, I want the same phone, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, just the white one instead. Oh no, we don't have any of those. We're not gonna get any in stock until towards the end of October. Well, I'm already an existing customer, right? I already purchased one. You guys should have some there in order to exchange for people like me who you said you could exchange it for. But they said, no, sorry, we don't have any. All you can do is just purchase a new one and then return this one when the new one comes in. I'm like, huh? That's really what the Apple Store told me, guys. And that also violates their 14-day, hassle-free return policy, because by the time the new iPhone would come in, I would no longer be eligible to return this device unless they make an exception. But that's just what some girl at the Apple Store said. I have no proof to show that that's what they told me. And even if they did, sometimes management will overrule that and say, no, sorry, it's past 14 days. Then you can get stuck with 2 iPhones. So the Apple Store lied to me. You cannot exchange the iPhone. And I actually went in there to exchange it, not because I hate the color, which I do kind of hate the color, but instead of going through like the whole, service requests and like do the Genius Bar thing and sit there for 2 hours and let them try to run diagnostics on the phone, which usually ends up with no results anyways and ends up being a huge waste of time, I figured, hey, I'm within my 14 days. I'll just exchange the phone for a new color. This one's problematic. It's having trouble. Let me get a new one and see if that one is having the same issues. Maybe I'll get lucky with the second phone, just like I did with the 15 Pro Max with 0 issues, right? But they don't have any. So your only option is to return the phone. And what if I didn't have any other iPhones or any other phone in general? Sometimes people buy a new phone. And typically people will buy a new phone, trade it in at the time of getting the new phone and no longer have their old device. And if you end up in a situation like mine where you either want to exchange or the phone is having major issues and you need to get a new one, I don't have any spare 16 Pro Max phones lying around for instances like this. They just say, sorry, you're gonna have to wait, just like everybody trying to purchase a new one. How is that a way to treat customers that just spent over $1,300 on your most expensive phone? I mean, it's really horrible, guys. Like, I do love iPhones because I still think they are the best phones out there, and Apple itself makes fantastic computers, but their customer service is really going downhill. It is not what it used to be, and I'm afraid that it's just going to continue getting worse as their products get more expensive, which is not a direction you want to head in as a company. So if you're somebody who's interested in buying one of these 16 Pro Max phones, you need to be aware of these issues. I think if you have a 15 Pro Max or even a 14 Pro Max and it's working perfectly, you're probably better off just sticking with it. And I'll make some future videos about other features of the phone once I actually start using it again, like the camera button. That's something that turned out to be not nearly as helpful or as interesting as it appeared to be in the keynote. In fact, it can even be problematic in some ways, which I'll go over in a future video. And this phone is just not living up to the hype, guys. It really isn't. And the only reason I'm going to go through the hassle of getting a new one and returning this and buying another one and everything is really just to document it here on this channel to show people what you could be up against if you're someone who wants to buy one of these phones. It's just like an FYI public service type of thing. Because one thing I hate is just getting screwed in general, whether it comes to business or financials, whatever. And I feel like Apple is starting to screw over its customers with their most expensive iPhones ever. So watch out for these problems. If this video is helpful to you or you know somebody who could use it, feel free to share it with them. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out this one on the screen right over here.